All right, at this time, we're going to go ahead and call to order the City Council regular meeting for Monday, April 28th, 2025. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Certainly. Mayor King?
Here.
Councilman Niner? Here. Councilman Newberry? Here. Councilman Emo? Here. Councilman Junior? Here.
Quorum being present, if everybody's had an opportunity to review the agenda. Are there any objections to the agenda as presented? Hearing no objections, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. You have before you the consent agenda. Does anybody have any objections to the consent agenda as presented? Hearing no objections, the consent agenda is approved by unanimous consent. Next item we have is a public hearing on bill number 25-14, an ordinance approving the rezoning application for lot 1 of 218 subdivision from single-family residential R1 to two-family residential R2. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
I'll make a motion to go into public hearing.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to go into public hearing. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Certainly. Councilman Niner?
Yes.
Councilman Newberry?
Yes.
Councilman Emo?
Yes.
Councilman Junior?
Yes.
All right, we're in public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. The city has received an application from Ethan Stanville for a rezoning application of 218 North Boardman Street from single-family residential to two-family residential. This is generally located on North Boardman Street, south of East Myrtle Street. This is a lot that was recently replatted. It was a partial of lots, I believe lots 1 and 2, so it was replatted into one single lot. You'll notice that the surrounding zoning for this property, the property is generally located within the green square there, is single-family residential, directly adjacent across the street, or to the west is a already existing duplex, which is zone R2. The future land use map and the comprehensive plan are both supportive of this type of housing in the area. It is shown in the pink, generally in the pink box here, as a downtown neighborhood district. The lot currently, again, as it has recently been combined into one, does meet all of the development code standards for the lot size and dimensions. So our recommendation, because it does align with surrounding zoning, it aligns with the future land use maps and the UDC standards. Planning and zoning, this was heard before planning and zoning with a recommendation of approval. Staff also recommends approval of the rezoning.
All right. Is there anyone here from the project that would like to speak on this?
Yeah, I brought some information just kind of show you what the aesthetics would look like. So I'm Ethan. Ready to push this?
Yeah, just push it like 3 seconds. Light turns green.
Perfect. So I'm Ethan Stanfield of Stanfield Homes, local builder in Pleasant Hill. I think I constructed over 32 homes in town. So this is just a vacant lot that I purchased in the last year. Like it was said, there's already a duplex across the street. We're just looking to rezone it to a multifamily. I did note on here the adequate parking. So the garages, there's a parking space in each side garage, and there's also 2 spaces per driveway for a total of 6 parking areas. The unit will be a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. approximately 1,248 square feet per side. And my plan is to keep and retain the unit in town, not sell it to an out-of-state investor or anybody, so.
Just curious, do you have any other duplexes?
No, but I've built several in the past.
Okay.
Built a lot over in Highland Park and Pleasant Hill that were sold. That I've owned and converted them in the past, so.
Are there any questions from council?
If we were to vote no, what would your plans be? Would you do a single-family home there, or?
I probably just try to resell the lot at this time,
Okay.
yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
You want to leave that on?
Yeah, just leave it on.
Okay, awesome.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this at this time? Please step up, state your name and address for the record, please.
John Self, 205 South Campbell. I'd like to ask the developer a question, if that's all right. You said that you built several, but you sold them all, but then you just said you were going to keep this one. Why would we assume that you're going to keep this one and not sell it to someone else?
Because those were actually build job projects. I owned one of them and then we sold it probably 6 months later. Just financially, I just plan on keeping this one.
Okay. And then what kind of rental structure does the city have in mind for Pleasant Hill? Do we not have enough rentals here? Because we have entire subdivisions that are literally 95% rentals. Just because you got one across the street doesn't mean you should put in another one. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, do you have a submitted email comment?
Go ahead.
I need to read. So this was submitted from Jerry Brandis at 210 North Boardman Street. This was submitted to our city clerk, Jody Beatty, on Thursday, March 27th. To the Planning and Zoning Commission, I am Jerry Brandis and live at 210 North Boardman Street. I am writing to respond to the rezoning issue of 218 North Boardman Street. I have lived in this neighborhood for almost 40 years now. It is an older, quiet, established neighborhood with several elderly residents. The houses across the street are mostly rentals. The amount of traffic in and out is now changing our quiet neighborhood. We have had riffraff move in and out of those rentals. We have had riffraff move in and out of those rentals for several years now, with noisy vehicles, loud music, and seemingly shady characters. The police have been called several times on different people. I understand that the R1 home built will probably be a rental. One is better than two. I feel if a stipulation could be added to include a privacy fence added to cut down on the noise would help. Also, if they cut the trees down in the back south side, they need to repair my fence from the damage done by their trees. Thank you for your consideration.
Any other comments from the public? All right, need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry.
No.
To close the public
Oh,
hearing.
yes, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
Councilman
jumping
Nemo.
ahead.
Councilman Nemo.
Yes.
All right. Back in the regular session. This time, I'm gonna skip public comments. We can get to the next item. I'll go back to it. So, I want to do the consideration of Bill 25-14, an ordinance approving the rezoning application for Lot 1 of 218 subdivision for the single-family residential R1 to two-family residential R2. Do I have a motion to consider Bill 25-14?
I'll make a motion for the consideration of Bill 25-14.
I'll second.
All right, at this time, do we have any discussion from council? What are you making a motion to approve or a motion? I guess it would be a motion to approve. So we go to discussion now.
Discussion.
Okay, I have a motion. This time we'll have discussion about Bill 25-14. What are concerns?
My concern is what is our rental ratio? Do we know
So
that?
if you look at the US Census Bureau, that is owner occupied. That is strictly the number of single family homes that are occupied by the owner or rental homes. It does not take into account multifamily dwellings. So don't hold me to the number, but I think our owner occupied is around 74%, 76%. I'll tell you that in a second. Want to get that? Is there any other discussion from council?
Well, I do have another question, it's probably for Missy, but I know that previously, it's been a while back, we talked about it might be for you as well. We talked about a rental, not really a contract, but
So, like a rental registry.
thank you.
Yeah. Actually, Missy and I just talked about that one last week. She has some information ready to go, that we'll be presenting to you in the next couple months. Oh, and Mayor, what I'm showing on the Census Bureau, from the rate from 2019 to 2023 was 73.2% owner occupied.
That's close. Any other discussion from council?
I don't know I don't know the numbers, but I know that it has increased greatly
Yes.
last year. Like, it's amazing, like, it's crazy how many homes have been purchased for rental property in the last year. So I don't know the numbers, unfortunately, but.
All right. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this bill before it's voted on?
I was just gonna ask, could you explain the single-family occupancy rate versus the two-family one again? I missed.
So the US Census Bureau data puts out owner occupied. So when they talk about the owner occupied rate for a community is how many owner occupied structures are single family dwellings that are rentals.
Okay, so if you had like a duplex, but each person owned half of it, their half of it, it wouldn't be a single family, it wouldn't be in that statistic.
No, it would not be in that statistic.
So in other words, all of the two-family residentials in Pleasant Hill could be rentals, or could not be, you just don't know.
Right, they're not in that. That is strictly, that percentage is, so 73 point whatever percent of our residential structures are occupied by the person that owns it.
Do we know how many two-family residentials are in Pleasant Hill?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure we could get that number for you. So
Because I would assume the majority of those are probably rentals as well.
I'm gonna guess.
You just
probably
excluded
most-
all of Gulfview and that whole subdivision over there,
Yeah,
and that's 95% rented, so.
right. So but that's what that number when they statistic it is. And most communities start looking at ways to slow rental properties as far as single family dwellings that are when you hit that 76 to 72% threshold.
So it sounds like we should be doing that. then.
Right, yes. That's why we started that discussion, because I know like Harrisonville was well below that. They're in the 60s.
Okay.
So that's what you want to avoid. Like Raymore is currently going through that. I think they're at 76 or 78%.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to approve Bill 25-14. Was there a second on that? I'm sorry. I got lost. And a second. Can I get a roll call vote for that, please? Now, we're doing the vote.
Councilwoman Niner?
Yes.
Councilman Newberry?
No.
Councilman Emo?
Yes.
Councilman Duma?
No.
Vote will go to the mayor.
Okay. No. So bill number 25-14 is not approved. 3 votes to 2.
Can I ask a question here? Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You were mentioning the ratios. And you said you didn't want to get it to like Harrisonville or Raymore. What is this magic number about?
So you will start to, when you start to dip below that, it starts to impact economic development, property values for a community. You know, there is a place, the way that you counter the single-family dwelling rentals is to have rental properties for multifamily.
Okay.
And a lot of those can be like planned developments. There's several of those. They're a good example where the front part of a neighborhood is multifamily, and then as you go further back, you have single-family dwellings.
Okay.
So,
So the goal here is to reach this magic percentage to bring in more business into the community?
no, the magic number is to have more owner-occupied structures. And to have a location, a neighborhood that is planned, that is multifamily. Not a single one here or a single one there. At the end of the day, the goal is to have some type of an ordinance. It isn't to prevent people from doing it, it's trying to get people to be responsible. And one of the biggest issues we have, not just in Cass County, the state of Missouri, nationwide, is the number of foreign investors into these single-family homes. So that you have, an example is you will get a corporation that will start to buy houses. There is one in Cass County. It is actually 7 LLCs that do that, and it's the same people on the board, they just have different positions. And they do that so when they get sued, it can't affect all their properties, it can only affect one LLC. But you get a lot of foreign interest in that, and we have people in this community that already suffer because they can't get things fixed in their homes because there's not a local home. So you look at ordinances that require people that have rental properties to have a local person, whether it's the owner or someone that manages it local, that can be there, that city can get a hold of, that whomever can get a hold of to help people fix problems and try to take care of the problems. I don't know why that's the magic number, that's just the magic number there is. And
I'm just curious.
people way smarter than me. No, that's a good question.
Thank you for
Yep.
answering it. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. I'll talk all day long.
I had another question. So with being a local builder, wanting to actually hold a property and invest back in the community, what is the hesitation then? Let's just say for some reason I build a house and then I go to sell it to China LLC, and then that's complete opposite of what we were doing before, of keeping it in town with an owner operator like myself.
I'm just gonna be honest with you, my reservation with this one is, one, I like planned developments where it's multiple, not just a spot here, spot there. But another part of that is, and I don't mean, and it's just gonna sound bad, I'm just gonna say it. You know, you can say that you're not gonna sell it, but then you talked about you don't own the other ones that you built. And I understand the explanation you gave, but that is a concern that I have.
Okay.
For me voting personally, that is a concern that I have, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So at this time, I will open up public comment. If there's anyone that would like to address city council, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Okay.
First is a question. What's our hold up on getting these broadcast meetings and getting them set up where people can chime in remotely. We were able to do that during COVID, still not able to do it now. Last meeting wasn't even fully recorded, so what's the hold up?
They're taking care of that fully recorded. We had to get a bigger device to store it, and that's been taken care of, and those are things that we are still working on.
Okay. In that vein, I'm going to read on behalf of Jessica Elliott. And I apologize, I read slow, so please forgive me if I go over on my 3 minutes. I am sending this because I will not be off work in time to attend City's council meeting tonight in person, and I want my thoughts and concerns to be heard. I do not have the ability to attend virtually like we did during COVID. I'm not sure why this is. In the 314 council meetings, Assistant City Administrator Nikki Wilson presented an agenda item along with a presentation for replacement of the bleachers at the Cass County Fair. This project was contingent upon needing an immediate decision that night because the offer was only good for 7 days with the concern of tariffs looming. City Council approved the funding for a whopping $373,000 debt obligation to be paid over the next 40 years at $35,000 a year. Wow. At the next meeting on 4/15/25, City Administrator Shelby Tufel provided an update on the police department roof replacement. The update stated that the estimates came in higher than anticipated, relaying a $60,000 difference. Staff recommended going with a lower option of partial replacement and delaying the remaining repairs until a later point in time. I am troubled by what appears to be a lack of prioritization by staff and council. As a resident and taxpayer, the bonds to improve the police department were marketed to the public as necessary due to delayed maintenance to city buildings, mold, ADA compliance, and harmful to the health of local law enforcement. I voted for these improvements so that it would be done right and solve the problem with urgency. I am troubled that we can go back to the drawing board for the animal shelter and scrap the plan presented to taxpayers to utilize the existing building by the same engineers that now say we need an entirely new building, and it was approved by City Council. We can do that, but we cannot fully replace a roof on the police department building. I am troubled that city staff and the mayor held town halls, made videos, gave speeches, asking the public to trust them with how the bonds would be handled. Yet a year later, the priority is on flashing new things and little progress has been made on actual maintenance and infrastructure, especially the police department, and yet again, here we are, kicking the can. It is my understanding that city staff is supposed to take their direction from the city administrator, who is supposed to take that direction from city council. So I am troubled by that city administration and staff are spending time putting together presentations, contacting contractors, and procuring funding for projects that appear to be closer to personal interest without any direction by council, and then brought to council needing a quick decision for something that is absolutely not critical or necessary. And I'm even more troubled that city council can blindly and without pause approve a 40-year debt obligation that will become the responsibility of every taxpayer, every budget, and every future city council, when the public had no real say other than the trust they put in their elected officials. With regard to the bleacher project and tariffs and rising costs of material, which were the points that brought up the reason for the quick decision necessary to make that night, there are also increasing concerns about a recession. There was no projected outlook on how the uncertainty of the economy could affect attendance of the fair going forward. While attendance might be up the last couple of years, there's no guarantee that it will continue to go up or remain where it has been the last couple of years, or that we will even be able to facilitate a fair each year with rising costs to vendors and fairgoers alike, or even that the city's future budget may accommodate that. I do not understand how an expense such as this can possibly be justified. You would not add a new deck or build a playhouse or swing set in your backyard without fixing the leaking roof on your house, but that is exactly what is happening with the city administration and city council is approving it. And you want the public to trust you. Tonight you have the opportunity to prove that you can be trusted and decide not to approve the contract with Hanson Sports for the bleacher project, and also direct staff to better prioritize where the cutbacks need to be made. Additionally, I would like to ask the City Council to consider looking into what is needed in order to require that second readings become a part of the regular process. Thank you for your time. Jessica Elliott.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, John.
My turn won't be near as long, I promise. $60,000 for police station, over $250,000 for bleachers. And I understand that we want to make sure that we can accommodate as many fairgoers as we can. The revised values show that this payment would take 36 years to pay off, based on fair revenue. Most of the people in this room, statistically, will not be alive when we have justified this expense. And we, the people, voted for a police station. There was no vote on bleachers. And it's still a debt service that we have to pay. Are we done kicking the can down the road or not? This will take 36 years to recoup this expense. Think about that. Even if we pay it off with interest, 36 years to justify. And the other question I want to know is, why, if tariffs are driving this urgency, aren't tariffs driving the urgency to replace the police station roof? It's made out of metal, it's the same thing. And it was not denied because it was okay, it was denied because it was out of budget. Everybody knows, if you got to call that plumber back, even if he's still in the driveway, that's a whole nother service call. If you really want to save money on the police station roof, you do it all at once. How much of that money? $250,000. How many water lines will that fix? How many miles of water line? How many roads? How many council chambers will that remodel? The staff putting this forward to city council does not apparently live in city limits. It's not even their tax dollars. That's kind of a stinger to me. If you can't live here and spend your tax dollars on it, why are you voting for it when you live in the country? My 2 cents.
Anyone else? All right, this time we'll move on to Resolution 25-16, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Pleasant Hill, Missouri, declaring the intention of the city to reimburse certain capital expenditures with proceeds tax-exempt lease purchase obligations.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I want to introduce Jody McCliney, the city's financial advisor, to talk about the debt issuance that we are proposing for the bleacher purchase. With that, Jody, you can go ahead and I'll fill in whatever's left.
The long and the short of this is this will allow you to pay yourself back if you put forth money 60 days from before today and going forward. I don't want to go to market right now. I want to take my time with this one. The interest rates are jumping, and it is a direct result of our president and the talks. But we should be fine. We are not going 40 years. We're going 20 years. But I want to make that clear because 40 years gave me pause. We'll also have the ability to restructure, pay off, etc. within 5 years. So we should be in good shape. So all this lets you do is take your time. This doesn't obligate you to anything, but it does allow you to pay yourself back from this point forward, actually 60 days from this point forward.
Questions for Joey? Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else from staff?
No, we do have a down payment that's requested on these bleachers, and that's why this issue would be important, is because it does allow us to be able to reimburse ourselves whenever that debt issuance comes through, which is anticipated within the next month.
All right, this time, is there anyone from the community that would like to speak on Resolution 25-16? All right, I see no one. Do I have a motion concerning Resolution 25-16?
I'll make a motion for Resolution 25-16, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Pleasant Hill, Missouri, declaring the intention of the city to reimburse certain capital expenditures with proceeds of the tax-exempt lease purchase obligations.
I second.
Have a motion and a second for resolution 25-16. Roll call vote, please.
Any discussion, okay?
Oh, any further discussion?
I have one question.
Okay.
How much money does the Fair Board have to put toward this?
So the Fair Board doesn't have any of their own money that is held within the city's budget. So the way that this is going to be structured, and this is, I think a little bit of the confusion here, is that the debt payment obligations will come out of that fair fund first. And that basically that lease purchase agreement allows you, as long as you have the money on hand to be able to repay it, that's how you make that repayment. So we have the ability within the fair budget we could increase admissions, we can increase vendor fees, we don't know what that will look like at that point. Our early projections were just based on increased capacity and how much we thought the increased capacity alone at the current rates would generate. My fair warning, because I would not be doing my job properly if I didn't say, there is still a risk inherent that if by chance the fair isn't able to earn that much in revenue, if we had a rain out or the insurance wasn't enough to cover it, that then we would have to use general fund money. We still have an obligation to pay it back. We're not suggesting that would be our preferred alternative, that the city or the taxpayers are the ones that are paying this debt issuance, that it would truly be generated from the Cass County Fair revenue. I don't remember off the top of my head how much they have in their fund balance. I'm looking at Amy to see if she remembers. We do typically try to hold, I think we were probably at about 20% of their annual revenue. Do you have it off the top of you have it?
Okay, at the end of this year, we do have a fund balance of about $90,000 in there.
Would you
Now,
say
well,
that-
this next
how
year we
much-
budgeted, with what we budgeted this year, we have right now, we're gonna anticipate having about 60,000 in the fund balance.
Any other questions?
And how much of a deposit do we need to make?
The deposit is just slightly over 100,000.
30%.
30% of the total.
We can take a minute. Take a minute. Budget, payback.
And I know the mayor had asked at one time to try to get, that's what I was gonna ask. We're still looking for a sponsor.
Yes.
Yes, we are. Yeah, and that's the other thing. So if we're able to get a naming rights sponsor, then we will, obviously then that reduces the amount of that debt obligation on an ongoing basis. We have already had some internal conversations. I had mentioned before that we had spoken with kind of a vendor that does this. I still think their pricing is too high for what you get out of it. And so we've had conversations about which sponsors to potentially approach, but we have not yet made that approach.
What other times do you use the bleachers?
As of right now, we don't in a huge capacity. That's always kind of been a goal that we've had. I say we, the city, and when I'm saying we, I'm speaking on behalf of the city. We had a prior council that was a high priority of theirs, was to try to utilize the space down there as a whole. more than obviously just, the week of, the fair. So, by facilitating this though, that would really help improve that. Again, what's down there isn't ideal, and so when people are out looking for places to go, they're probably not looking for somewhere that has, the seating is less than ideal, but that would be very much a priority. I would assume of your all's, as well as it has been previous councils, for us to really market, the event space, for more use than just the week of the fair.
And I do know we had previously had some concerts down there. We've had another rodeo down there. There's another rodeo that has talked previously about maybe having a second rodeo. And every one of those conversations comes back to the conditions of our bleachers and that not being something that they were interested in because of those conditions. So, any other discussion from council? John, go ahead.
I just wanted to offer a clarification on something I said and then a question. The 40 years that I cited, I was looking at the additional revenue by the increased seating, by how long it would take to pay off the debt. So I was looking at basically a return on investment, so to speak. That's where that figure came from. The other question I have is, do we not get assistance from anyone else in Cass County on these types of expenditures?
No.
So Pleasant Hill handles the whole Cass County fair.
The Cass County Fair is a Pleasant Hill fair. They gave us, the original people that went for the fair asked to use the name Cass County Fair. And the
Okay,
county said yes. No one from the county puts money into the fair.
which is why the fair is not in the county seat.
Correct.
Okay, makes sense, thank you.
I have discussed changing the name of the but that's a different discussion. So, all right, I have a motion and a second for resolution 25-16. If there's no other discussion, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
No.
Councilman Emo,
Yes.
Councilman Duma.
Yes.
All right, resolution passes 3 votes to 1. Next item is the P2 project update, police station renovation.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight I have Scott Billis with Navigate Building Solutions with us to give an update on the police station design development. So this one, as we've mentioned previously, is operating differently than we saw both at the parks and the animal shelters. So there are a couple pieces that you've seen piecemeal, as we've discussed. You guys saw the roof contract recently. But we've also hired SFS Architecture to create the design. So this is going to be a design bid build project for certain pieces of it. And so we are at the point that I felt like it was important to bring it back to you guys, as we are not yet going out and placing or soliciting bids, but we're getting very close. So I wanted you guys to see it one time before we got to that point. Additionally, with the design that we've already seen, Navigate Building Solutions has already gone through with their construction estimators as well. And we've been able to assess, this is what we reasonably believe that we'll be able to get back in bids and what we think that we can afford. And so with that, I will turn it over to Scott.
Thank you, Shelby. Just to kind of reiterate, we gave you in January an a la carte menu of items and brought you a recommendation asking for your opinion. So today you'll see how we've incorporated those into the larger project and then the anticipated budget associated with those. The agenda topics for today, we're going to kind of go through the development on the water intrusion scope, the interior building renovations, and then touch on the budget updates. I'm going to turn it over to Lindsay Tatro with SFS Architecture to go through the design documents, and then I will roll back into the budget from there.
Yeah, thank you. Wanted to start with the water intrusion piece. This is where we started. We wanted to understand, what is a solution we can come up with to take care of the water intrusion into the building, and then what budget do we have left for other scope items. So Water intrusion pieces you'll see highlighted in a cyan color. We observed that there's a lot of water mostly coming off of the roof as well as from the roadway drainage that is landing in that central courtyard piece between the buildings. And so that water is really overwhelming that area and is what is getting into the building. So what we are proposing is a new storm sewer line that would run through that courtyard that would tie all of the downspouts from the roof into that so we can get water away from the building. Another piece of the improvements includes a little bit of regrading and repaving of that driveway, trying to keep the water from the street from coming into that courtyard space as well and overwhelming that system. So keeping that street drainage where it needs to be in the larger storm system. Additionally, we're recommending the replacement of all of the existing sump pumps. So if a little bit of water does get in, it can be dealt with through those new sump pumps. And then last item, as a belt and suspenders approach to keeping the water out of these basement areas, is we're recommending providing some epoxy injection improvements from the inside of the building that would be a waterproofing effort from the inside. We had explored options to excavate and provide waterproofing on the outside. There's a number of utilities that are running through that courtyard area. And so we thought the best value here would be to provide that waterproofing on the inside of those basement walls. So you'll see, if we go to the next slide, also sticking with the exterior, a high priority for this facility was to create a new accessible entry on the north side. You'll see that highlighted in the magenta color. So we're proposing a new ramp that would access that entry lobby from the north side of the building. In addition to that, new accessible parking on that north side. When we evaluated the grades there'll be a little bit of regrading and a little bit of repaving that'll be necessary to make those fully ADA compliant parking stalls. We also believe that we can achieve an accessible path, that sidewalk you see that extends down to the west entry. That would be an accessible path from those new parking stalls so that both entries into the police station would have an accessible route to them. Additional improvements that are proposed for that new public lobby space include some glazing film that would provide a security layer at the transaction window as well as the window in the door and the side light into the office space there. Go to the next slide. And if there are any questions along the way, please feel free to jump in. I know we're going through several things here. Jumping into the interior for the interior building renovations, we're proposing renovations in 4 key areas. The blue area would include improvements to the dispatch area. The area highlighted in green are improvements to the intake and that work and that flow. And then the orange area highlighted would be a new training area, a new training room. And then the fitness is highlighted in red. There would be some proposed upgrades to the ventilation within the fitness space. So going a little bit deeper into what is proposed into the dispatch area, go to the next slide. Proposing to remove a wall between the existing dispatch area and the current break space. This area would also take out 2 single stall restrooms and turn it into a single ADA accessible restroom. There would be new finishes throughout this space, new ceiling, new lighting. The transaction window there would also get a cloaking film. There was concerns about observing sensitive information on computer screens, and this was the most cost-effective way to address that concern while still keeping some visibility into that lobby space from the dispatch, as well as keeping a little bit of natural light in that space where possible. In addition to the construction and finish upgrades, also Navigate is working with Will Electronics on several security improvements, which include card access to spaces as well as security cameras. Go to the next slide. So taking a look at the new intake, we're proposing to remove an existing restroom off of the garage space and create a new entry into an intake space that would include a new inmate storage closet as well as a countertop with some storage, as well as counter space for all of the intake equipment. Included are new detention grade doors and frames. We would have a sealed concrete floor in this space and keep a floor drain in there for easy cleanup if needed. There would be new paint throughout, as well as a new security grade ceiling within the intake space. The holding cells would remain in their current configuration, but would be proposing new security cameras within that space. The new training area, this would be accomplished by removing a few of the current offices that are within that space. We would be maintaining 4 offices within this area, adding a ADA accessible restroom for this space, as well as making some minor upgrades to the break area that currently has existing cabinetry within that area. Another major upgrade for this space would be with the HVAC system. The current system was at the end of its useful life. We would be providing a new system with supplemental cooling and ventilation that would accommodate more of an assembly type space. The training room, what we're showing there is 32 tables and chairs, but that would be intended to be flexible, so it could be used as the police department needs for their training activities, as well as the broader community. Again, security at the doors, as well as cameras for monitoring, would be included in this area as well. Turn it back over to Scott unless there's any questions on the design and contents of this.
How many ADA accessible restrooms then are we adding? Because we have how many now?
There,
We have 2, and they're both upstairs, not accessible.
Not accessible. They cannot be accessed in an ADA accessible path, but we do have them. Any of them that currently are ADA accessible paths are ADA compliant restrooms.
so the north, where we're adding the ramp on the north side, that would allow you to access that entry point, and it has a restroom that has the accessible features there. We're adding one at the dispatch level, so you can now get to both levels from the outside to those levels where the restrooms would be, and then in the training building as well.
And then the mold will be getting rid of whatever mold is in there?
So the city doesn't have any record of any mold in the building. We've had this tested previously and it didn't show anything that wasn't present just in the natural environment. We are executing a contract that will be done, or they are testing this week to do our phase 2 environmental test that needs to be done before some of these renovations occur.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, I will go through kind of some of the updates that we've made to the budget since the last one. So in the first column there, the 1216 is the budget that we reviewed during the January update meeting. You can see that we had a total cost there of about 1.615 there, and then in this updated estimate, Costs have ticked up slightly, but we're still within budget, up to about a 1.632 number there. There were some slight, in section D there was a slight uptick in that section. That was primarily just due to increase on some additional, I think, Lindsay had mentioned the utility work in the courtyard, some additional investigative work associated with locating some of those activities. So we are going to perform some potholing activities with the help of public work, and there was some additional equipment that would need to be rented to perform those activities. Other than that, everything is pretty level across the board. So let's kind of move us into the next slide here. This will talk about our construction number that you've just seen on this previous slide at the top of that 918,000. So this is cost broken down by division of each portion of the building, all encompassing that 918,000 number. We do have additional detail back behind that, back up for all of those numbers for every nut and bolt component that's in there as well. And then on the next item, this page here. So initially, we were tracking a little bit above that budget. We wanted to go back to the drawing board, see where, so we could do this more effectively. So on the guardrail, this was one of the areas we saw an uptick in cost to meet the ADA slope requirements there. That ramp had to grow some versus what we anticipated back in January. At the time, we didn't have a drawing. We were kind of making some assumptions, evaluating the west ADA access on the side versus the north. This one ultimately got selected. So we are looking at areas like up against the building where you have the building barrier could act as your guardrail, so you don't need additional steel. So we're looking at ways with local vendors of how we could cut that cost there and make that more cost effective. That is still actively in process there. We're confident that there's at least $5,000 to $6,000 in savings there, with the potential for more as we continue to look for cost saving measures on that railing system. Item number 3 that was ultimately not selected was to remove impact-resistant security-grade doors and intake care. With this being a police station, we identified that as a pretty critical item of something that we did not want to cut the security improvements of the building. So we opted against that item. Item number 4, so Lindsay had gone through the water intrusion items and some of the improvements to the storm system in the courtyard. There was one downspout in particular that receives a lot of water that was backed up behind the generator. To get to that, you'd have to demo gas lines and water lines in the area, as well as the concrete above it, and then put all of that back. There is significant cost associated with that. So rather than trying to demo all of that work, we proposed to move the downspout over to miss the concrete and go into the dirt just outside of that. Still getting the same design intent there, just doing it more cost effective. We were able to identify $11,000 in savings for that relocation. Then a few $1,000s of using the film instead of a new window. There you're still getting that security barrier, but rather than putting a new window with breakable or bullet resistant glass, we're putting in a film and reutilizing the existing window that is still in good shape there. One of the items that Lindsay had mentioned was the ventilation and air circulation in the fitness area. This was a large dollar item, about $31,000 to have those 2 large fans in the fitness area. At this time, our recommendation is to show that as an add alternate. If our bids come in favorable on bid date, we can buy that on bid date. In addition to that, we are also evaluating for the base bid additional, more cost-effective solutions to move air in that space, including wall-mounted fans or something lower at the lower level. That's still going to get you the same desired effect, but with a more cost-effective solution than those large, high-volume, low-speed fans. Another item that we intend to show as an alternate and potentially be able to buy on bid day with that fence, the chain link fencing at the courtyard that would connect you between the 2 metal buildings back there and kind of give you an extra layer of barrier of security there. Plan to show that as an alternate. It's an easy item to break out and isolate their costs from, and then if the bids come in more favorably, we have to buy on bid day. Lastly, there was a couple of items that were desired and asked for after the fact that we were going through that would be nice to have, like outlets in the floor for the new training areas so people connect to their devices if they're sitting at the tables. There was $7,000 in the cost in there to add those outlets with all the concrete demo associated with that, and just the project team after just evaluating the cost and think that the benefit was worth the cost. So we removed that, and then also there was an additional piece of casework outside of the restroom area in dispatch that we needed something to put in that space. It was a good spot for some cabinetry. Wasn't initially planned, and something that could be added later for a lot lower cost than putting in fixed casework. So that totals about $68,000 in savings between those items that we identified and accepted, that you'll see on the next page here. That's that item A2 on the budget tracker that gets us down to the 1.632 budget number. In addition to that, we do have $85,000 worth of unallocated contingency to anything that's there to absorb material escalation costs and then any unforeseen conditions that occur over the course of construction. So that money's gonna stay there until we're comfortable enough. We'll slowly release some of it as, once you get to bid, we'll release a little bit, and then as the project goes, we can look at other ways that we can add to the project to spend that money down. In addition to that, in the 918 construction estimate number there, we do have $40,000 on earmark for potential relocation of utilities that we'll be able to further identify and better put a number on that cost as we get through those last remaining investigative work that we're performing this week. So all in total, we've got a good plan to get back to budget and comfortable to get put items in place to potentially buy more to make sure that we're still meeting our arbitrage spend down milestones. That's it. Any questions, concerns, comments with anything?
Any questions for Scott?
Another question I had was they mentioned putting a sewer drain in that courtyard area to draw. Would that be part of the new sewer charges if we have more?
No, so this is gonna be storm sewer.
Okay, it is storm sewer.
Yeah, storm sewer.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Mayor, I will note that, they've kind of touched on these, but other actions that we have taken on this is, as you guys are aware, we've executed the roof contract for the TPO portions of the roof. We do plan to execute the other portions of the roof. We have not abandoned that plan. The timing of the bids and the pricing that we received didn't make sense to execute it at that point. We knew we couldn't move forward with the renovations until we were sealed on the portions that needed the most work. We have completed our water infiltration investigation. Additionally, Tony and his crew continue to work on what that looks like. We'll be potholing in that area soon too, to understand a little bit more about what exactly where every utility lays out in that courtyard. We have executed, as I mentioned, the contract for phase 2 environmental assessment. As they mentioned, we are working with Will Electronics for security cameras and access controls, and all of our surveying work is completed on this project as well.
So it sounds to me like we're moving right along.
Yeah, I can give you a high level update on the schedule. So we're, over the course of May, going to finalize the rest of the documents and submit for permit, go through the permit review process with plans to go out to bid in June, and then anticipate coming back to the board in July for an approval of the contract to proceed immediately following.
Any questions?
All right, thank you all. Before we move on to the next item, is there any comment from public on the P2 project update?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for the headphones, they work. Second, the black mold has been visible in the police department for years. So, and anyone who's dealt with mold issues knows you can't just put out a little petri dish. You have to go behind the walls. So when they find it, which I'm pretty sure they will, what are they gonna do then? Because there is, and everybody working in that police station has mold toxicity. You will have to be treated for that mold. I know, because it's a personal deal with a family member, and I'm dealing with my lungs down. You've seen black mold for years. It's there. I don't care who says it isn't. It needs to be addressed and addressed now for everybody who works at that police department. Thanks.
John?
I had heard that there was like some sort of a cistern or a water-filled room or something in the basement. I don't know if that's true or not. If it is true, is that something that's needing to be dealt with or drained or revised, or is that part of any of this? If it even exists, I'm just asking for clarity.
I will try to get you an answer to that question.
does.
All right. This time we'll move on to the next item, which is the special request from the Pleasant Hill Theatrical Guild.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take this one. The Pleasant Hill Theatrical Guild, requests the use of the Memorial Building on September 19th and 20th to host their annual Murder Mystery Dinner and Show. This is a fundraising event for them to raise money for their scholarships that they do for their senior scholarship. So they would like to request the use of the building at no cost.
Questions from council?
No,
You all right down there?
I'm fine.
All right. If there's no questions, do I have a motion pertaining to the special request for the Pleasant Hill Theatrical Guild to have no charge for the space, for the dates?
I'll make a motion for the special request for the Pleasant Hill Theatrical Guild, for no-cost use of the memorial building for the specific dates.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, passes. Staff reports.
Right now, the last couple of weeks for me have been filling in for absentee staff. So I've been out, had my building inspector license hat on this last couple of weeks. So that's what my job duties have been. Okay, so we have an ARPA compliance that we have to have in by April 30th, and I completed that today, so we are compliant for that this year. And everybody got the newsletters last month that our water rates will be, the new structure will be out this billing cycle, so there'll be some that will be lower, some might be a little higher, just to give you guys a heads up if you hear from anyone. And I've just been working with IT regarding emails and two-step verification issues, so.
Jeff?
Spring is here, we're in full mowing season, and a lot of our activity has been based around that. We are still trying to get the mowing contractor contract activated, so we've been handling both sides of actually all of the city properties for all the mowing that we need and all the maintenance. We've also been doing some work on the fairgrounds and prep and planning for the fair coming up. High school games have been going very continually, consistently down at the baseball field. So we've got a lot of games down there for staff. And the spring rec seasons are well underway, so we're just doing that thoroughly.
All right. Tony?
Southern Highway water line replacement project. We had a pre-con meeting last week, and the plan is to start on May 5th. The contractor is planning to start from Wright Street and move to the south towards Timber. So you'll see more activity on 7 Highway soon. The SIPP lining project is completed. Service has been resumed. We have a couple little punch lists to go through, so I think they're completing that tomorrow. I think they got one more. The 5-year plan, I just talked to Jason today. DNR is in the final review of the 5-year plan, so as soon as we get that 5-year plan back, we will start on the next set of projects for water and sewer improvements. Timber pump house, the contractor has been there the last week or so, just over a week. Got quite a few projects done inside, done some work outside on the external piping changes and stuff like that that's needed. So it's moving along. I have asked for the contractor to give me a written, basically, schedule of completion. I haven't got that in my hands yet, so that's it.
Can I ask Tony a question?
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor. So for the 5-year plan, I guess I just don't fully can't wrap my head around this. We have to get approval from DNR for the 5-year plan? I mean,
Yes, what that does is it gives us a series of projects that we can work on over the next 5 years without having to go back to the DNR for approval.
Okay,
So it streamlines, once we get this all in place, it streamlines everything from here on out.
okay.
I know it's confusing calling it a 5-year plan. I had somebody this week tell me, well, can't you speed that up? Well, it will, once we get that in place, then that will streamline.
Then they'll just start,
It'll snowball.
okay.
Yep.
That's what I had somebody ask me the other day, and I couldn't give them a good explanation of how that process worked. But
Yeah, Pat,
That's a little-
without that, each time that we would want to do the plans, like the SIPP projects that we did, we still have to go to DNR for the approval. And so this is the one-time approval instead of each project that we want to do going back to them to ask for their approval.
Okay, thank you.
Chief,
Thanks for having me again tonight. Appreciate it. Got a May 16th coffee with a cop coming up. It's going to be at KC Vintage Realty. That's at 124 South First Street, and that's going to be from 8 to 10. So love to see everyone there. It's a nice opportunity for people to come visit with us, and then kind of a non-enforcement, activity, and get to just meet some of your local police officers and get to hear what we do, and we can hear some things that you have going on in your neighborhood. Wanted to put on the radar for everybody, Saturday, September 13th is going to be our Touch It Truck. We are moving that from June to September this year in hopes to maybe have a little bit better weather and not so close to the fair. We're kind of gearing up for the fair in June already, so we're moving that to September 13th. And then finally, I just wanted to share an event that we participated with. We partnered with some of the local faith community on Friday and went out to Price Chopper, where probably 25 to 30 youth had gathered, like youth tends to do, and we took them cookies and visited with them. So it was, they were a little shocked. The police were coming out to bring cookies with the preachers, but just all part of our outreach to that area youth and trying to change some of that narrative that's out there. So, and that's all I have.
Did you go with lights and sirens?
No, I specifically told everybody it's probably not a great idea to turn on your lights when you're doing it.
and you got me a new project in the process.
I did. Sorry.
No, it's all right. It was a good
No,
conversation.
I'm not sure why they picked me there, but certainly I don't mind meeting with them and going to lunch with all those pastors. So it's good for us.
I had nothing but great things to say, so.
Good, thanks.
Kylie.
Last Friday, in partnership with our contractors, PCC Sports, city staff, and park board members, participated in what we call the Community Build Day, but we also celebrated Arbor Day and Earth Day along with it. So alongside PCC, we helped build our new City Lake playground. I posted some pictures of it today. It looks really good, and it's kind of the start of the renovations that are happening out there. And then we also planted 3 trees alongside of the bank there on the lake. So we had a busy day on Friday, but it was super fun, and we had some really good feedback. And like I said, it was just kind of a kickstart to all of the things that are about to start happening at the lake. And then lastly, I just have that the citywide garage sale is coming up on May 17th, and the last day to register for that is May 9th. So you'll be seeing that a lot. And then we've got the monthly newsletter coming out.
Jody?
I've been busy with employee matters the last couple of weeks, but also open enrollment for employees is going to be next week. We'll be having a big meeting for that and kicking that off, and they'll have a month to get their selections in, so that's.
Shelby?
I'm going to try and cover anything that somebody else did not. One is that Councilwoman Niner, Emo, and Duber and I attended a city officials training hosted by Lauber Municipal Law last Friday. I always find it informative. I hope they did as well. And the community build was done by the time we made it back. So we are so sorry that we couldn't help build the playground. But we did stop by, didn't we, Jackie? We did drive by.
The other is, we have purchased the striping robot for the Parks Department and executed that service contract. We have submitted a grant to Variety KC for the parks, for some of the accessible play features. We are working with Comcast. This is kind of like a background project that we're working on. Working with Comcast for internet redundancy between City Hall and the police department specifically, but continuing that conversation with them to make sure that we have access to the park shop and then also the animal shelter too. So there, you may see more on this one in the future as we continue those discussions with them. And the other one is we are still working on animal shelter design. We are getting very close to kind of their finalized exterior design. And so I will be sending you guys kind of some of the schematics. Because what they're really looking for is what do you want it to look like on the exterior. The designs that we've seen have been here to demonstrate the textures, but if you have color schemes in mind or something like that, now would be the time to put those forward. So I will get that to you guys. I don't think that's it. I don't think I have anything else.
That's it?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Can I ask Shelley a question?
Absolutely. We're gonna stop this.
I'll
You guys just ask.
Hickory Hills, I've gotten several complaints out of Hickory Hills. There's work being done out there on the, I guess, with Comcast, maybe? Do you know anything about that?
Looks like Missy does.
Actually, if it is along Lauren Lane or along Hickory Hills Drive, we do have 2 right-of-way permits that have been issued for those projects. It is Sunrise Telecom. They are installing new fiber for Spectrum.
Well, it's like Redwood, Redwood, Mulberry.
Lauren, right
The-
there.
People don't have internet out there.
Yeah, I don't have anything, if it is CenturyLink, or if it's anyone other than Spectrum or Sunrise Telecom, I do not have any open right-of-way permits for anyone other than those 2 in that area.
So
So if you see something else, like who the company is, send it to Missy, and we can also do spot checks from time to
It
time.
also depends, are they working on infrastructure that's already in place, or are they cutting, like, are they breaking ground for like?
they're breaking ground. Well, I mean, Amy,
Are they like digging, or are they working like in the green boxes that are already in place?
well, I can tell you they're digging in my yard, and they're
Okay.
digging in the neighbor's yard and up the road, but I don't know who it is that's
Okay.
doing it.
Yeah, I don't have anything open there, so if somebody is working there, I will get out there tomorrow and try
Because
to.
we probably, Hickory Hills has probably been over a week with little to no internet.
Yeah, I can't help with internet service, because we don't, like, it's not our thing, but if there is somebody out there working again, if it's not Sunrise Telecom, it's,
Okay.
they
I'll
don't
see if
have
I can
active.
figure that out.
Just go up and ask them.
I will.
No.
They should have.
I'm pretty sure it was Comcast that I saw. That's who I thought I saw out there.
I was saying, if it's Comcast, no, they don't have an active permit.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
In my precinct, I've had I've had several people talk about their ordinance letters. Is there a way I can get a copy of like the last 60 days of all of the ordinance letters that have gone out, so I can kind of see what's going on too?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
They're, again, I hate to say this, but they're pretty much generic letters.
I know.
Yes, I can get them for you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything for closed session?
I do not.
All right. If there's nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and everybody seconded to adjourn. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Emo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Doomer.
Yes.
All right. I was gonna ask you a question. No, we only have